I could start this video by taking the piss at Madrid fans. I could really start, just making jokes, whatever. But honestly, guys, we have to keep it mature. We have to keep it level-headed. Madrid fans, if you're watching this video, please come into the office, take a seat. It's a safe space. We could talk things out. I've been where you guys have been. In dark places, dark times. So please come in, take a seat. It's a friendly place here. Do you want water? Do you want food? Please sit down. We can talk this out. Yeah, you sat. I mean, obviously, back to back, losses at the Bernabeu isn't a good look. It really isn't a good look. So, I mean, look, like I said, we're gonna, keep it professional. But do you really think, as a Barca fan, I would not savor this moment? Yes, come on, 2 hate watches in 1 week. Oh my goodness, Christmas came early, man. Christmas has come early, man. 2 losses, 1 week. I'm sorry. Jokes aside, let's get into the match review. So, City versus Real Madrid. Real Madrid versus City. Bernabeu. The stage was set, ladies and gentlemen. This game really is starting to become a regular Champions League spectacle. I think this is like the third year in a row now, or fourth year in a row now, where these two have matched up in the Champions League. And it never really ceases to fail. It never fails in terms of entertainment, in terms of build-up. But for Real Madrid, especially, a lot of pressure was on them to deliver because of Xabi Alonso's position. Players have been out of form. Kylian Mbappe not in the squad, or starting 11, sorry. There was a lot, going on behind the scenes, and a lot was actually to be said and performed on the football pitch. But as you guys can see, what happened? What happened? City have beaten Real Madrid 2-1 on a very entertaining night, to be honest. I actually enjoyed watching that game as a neutral, not just because Real Madrid lost, but it was actually, a good game to watch because I learned a lot from both teams in terms of where they are. Madrid, another loss again at home. City with a very comfortable, very well-managed win in Madrid. And let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about who impressed me, who didn't. There's a lot to talk about in this video. So let's talk about the game in chronological order. I thought Madrid, started the game very well. First 30, 35 minutes, I thought they were brilliant. Xabi Alonso clearly had a game plan in terms of what he wanted to do. I didn't really agree with his lineup too much. I didn't really like seeing Ceballos in there, and Ceballos didn't really play that well throughout the whole game, really. Gonzalo Garcia was a surprise, but in terms of a number 9, I can understand why he, started him. Rodrigo, obviously back in the lineup, scoring a goal today. He probably looked like the best Real Madrid player out there, to be honest. Ending his 32-game goal drought, and that was a big goal. Very well taken goal, to be honest. I thought his first touch for it was very good. Very good finish as well across the far post of Donnarumma. But like I said, I think Xabi Alonso had a game plan. He knew that City are very gettable on transitions, as we know with this team, with Bernardo Silva, with Foden. They are very gettable in transitions, especially when they're both playing as number 8s. The physicality really isn't there for them. And I thought, the players like Tchouaméni, players like Jude, they win the ball high up the pitch. And they can really punish City. And Madrid had 2 or 3 really good chances in those first 30, 35 minutes of the game, where they easily could have made it 2-0 in my opinion. And on the other end, it's the stupid mistakes that really let down Madrid today. And I think, overall, in terms of the actual game plan, in terms of the way it went for Real Madrid today, Alonso had a clear game plan. For the first 30, 35 minutes, it worked fine. It worked perfectly for them. They went 1-0 up. Afterwards, I think his players really let him down today. In terms of the marking for Nico O'Reilly's goal, obviously it was a Courtois mistake, but also just bad defending in the box. Rudiger, horrible bozo challenge in the box to bring down Haaland, penalty, and he obviously converts it considering he's Erling Haaland. So I really think that, the first half really got away from them because of the individual mistakes, the defensive mistakes at the back. But this is a real opportunity in that second half. Madrid being 2-1 down at the Bernabeu, it was an opportunity for them to really just showcase who they are as a club. Individual quality, the stars that we talk about, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr. That was an opportunity for them in that second half, to take the game to City. But honestly, for the majority of that second half, I really didn't see it for Real Madrid. I couldn't recognize them, there's so much talk about how the Bernabeu is a scary place. It's such a scary place to go to for all teams in Europe, There's a saying, 90 minutes is so long at the Bernabeu. Guys, City played in second gear for the entire game today. Honestly, I didn't see them coming out of second gear once. Maybe for those 5 or 10 minutes after Rodrigo scored, they started to like, take the ball better, keep the ball better, attacks, whatever. But beyond that, City really didn't get out of second gear today whatsoever. I thought they managed the game so well defensively in that second half. They knew Madrid were going to have more of the ball, considering they were 2-1 down. They were going to chase for an equalizer or a potential winner. They knew that was going to happen. Pep made some good subs, but also surprising at the same time, considering Haaland, Cherki, Foden are 3 of their best players this season. Pep decides to take him off and brings on his substitutions. So it was a bit surprising, but also very well managed. I thought Nico Gonzalez, very good today. Clean up crew at the back with Ruben Diaz. Mateus Nunes, for him to actually not be a right back, I thought he put up a sensational performance today against Vinicius Jr., considering he's not an out-and-out fullback. Nico O'Reilly, though, was my man of the match today. What a performance. I know people are going to say, yeah, it was his fault for not closing down Rodrigo for the first goal, but besides that, guys, ball carrying, getting into good areas. He put a chance on a plate for Erling Haaland in that first half, bombing down that left side. Overlapping Doku. Doku also had a good game today. I thought he really used his traits in terms of like the shimmy and like the feints and stuff to really get out of pressure and also create a couple chances in that second half. But overall, it's not like City did anything majestic in that second half. I thought it was a very professional performance. They just managed it. They kind of just calmed things down whenever Madrid were obviously in control in terms of like creating attacks and stuff. They knew what they had to do in that second half. There's a clear game plan, and Pep's players simply executed it. And that is probably the difference in terms of Pep and Xabi Alonso. Obviously, I'm not even trying to compare the two. They're not comparable whatsoever. But in terms of actually knowing what to do, but in terms of their players knowing what to do on the pitch, the difference was night and day for that second half. How many times did we see Real Madrid pick up the ball, in decent areas? Vinny, who had a poor game today, picked up the ball in very, very good areas. Isolated 1v1 against Mateus Nunes. How many times did we see that? Nothing came out of it. There is no fluency in the attack. There is no chemistry between him, Bellingham, Rodrigo, Endrick when he came on, Brahim Diaz. There is no chemistry whatsoever. Absolutely nothing in that second half. And it's starting to become a reoccurring theme now. How many times have we said that Madrid are too over-reliant on Kylian Mbappe this season? And not even this season. I'd even argue last season too, because Mbappe's numbers last season was ridiculous. But how many times have we seen this season, especially under Xabi Alonso, have they been so over-reliant on Kylian Mbappe? The fact that he has, I think, 65% of their goals and assists should say enough. That's almost Salah numbers last season for Slot. That is ridiculous. Yes, they missed Mbappe today. They missed Mbappe dearly today, in terms of pacing behind. You know how gettable City are in transitions. He would have probably maybe scored 1 or 2 today. But still, you can't be reliant on Mbappe. You can't. Similar for Barca, we can't be reliant on Pedri. We can't be reliant on Yamal, Rafinha. Rafinha was so missed when he was out with injury. But I'm sorry, when you have players like Jude Bellingham, when you have players like Vinicius, Ballon d'Or Vinicius, they have to do better. They have to step up. Those two, this season, I know Jude's been out with injury, but he was back, fully fit now. They have to do better. Jude's rating will say he was high today, but I thought for 50, 60 minutes of the game, he was poor. On the ground, rolling around. Vinny, probably the worst on the pitch today. Absolutely horrible in the final third. And you know what it is with Vinicius? It's been a rough, year for him. I'd even argue it's been a rough, 18 months for him in terms of his performances, his confidence, the media surrounding him. Obviously, will he get along with Mbappe? Will he play with Mbappe? There's so many questions surrounding Vinny and all this stuff. But I'm sorry, for someone who we saw as one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world 2 or 3 seasons ago, you have to do better. There's no Mbappe on the pitch today. This was your opportunity to shine, to showcase who you are as a player. There were so many doubters, last season that, Vinny's dropped in quality because of Mbappe, whatever. And personally, I think Vinny's a great player. He's still one of Madrid's greatest threats on an attack. Man, he's been so poor. He's been so poor. He looks genuinely unrecognizable now. How many chances did he have an opportunity today to make something right, to do something right for Real Madrid, but he couldn't? And look, I think from today's performance, a lot of the eyes are going to be on Alonso, obviously. There's so much pressure on this guy right now. I think 2 wins in 8, which is horrible considering it's Real Madrid. But today's performance, I don't think it was enough for him to get the sack. It wasn't embarrassing. It's not like they lost 4 or 5-0 or something. They lost 2-1. They had opportunities to make it 2-2. They could have done something, but I think his players let him down. And ultimately, now that I think about it, even if Alonso were to get sacked tomorrow, which manager in world football right now would replace him? That's available. Obviously there's so many shortlisted candidates of who could replace Alonso, but if we're thinking realistically, who's going to replace him right now? in December, end of 2025, heading into 2026, a World Cup year. Who's going to replace Alonso? If you were to leave tomorrow, lunchtime, pack your bags, you're out of here, who's going to replace him? I can't think of one person. I mean, for all the noise Slot is getting right now at Liverpool, they're probably going to back him in the Salah-Carragher feud right now. He is treading on thin ice right now. Yes, he could be doing a lot better. I thought his in-game management in the second half wasn't great whatsoever in terms of his substitutions. That's kind of a reoccurring theme with Alonso right now in terms of his in-game management. His substitutions, some of them just don't make any sense. That's something that he really needs to fix in terms of, managing the players, the egos, etc. Playing time, minutes. Yes, it's a demanding schedule, but you have every single responsibility to make it work with the players that you have. Let's be honest. They have good players. It's not like they have mid players. I think Real Madrid do have good players. But the question's always been, can they work together? Can they find a manager who can make them work together? Because right now, with the way things are going, for him, Mbappe, Vinny, etc., it's not working out. It's not working out. They need to find a solution. So yeah, like I said, this one should be on the players today. Not to give, Alonso any credit. I think he has a lot of work to do still. If I'm taking a look at, Madrid's, fixtures now, upcoming fixtures, they have a lot of work to do in terms of like the fixtures ahead. They have a tough schedule. Guys, Xabi Alonso, Deportivo Alaves, you have to win. You have to win. If you drop points here, I could see you getting the sack. Alaves, you have to win. They're 11th in the table right now. You have to win. You have to win that game. But I also do think that some of the players should step up. They're world-class players, according to their fans. They're world-class players. They have to step up. If they're that good, they have to step up. But that's my take on the game. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. City, good win for them. Very professional win. You did what you had to do away from home with the Bernabeu. Sitting comfortably in the top 8. Madrid, better get it together soon, man. You better get it together soon. Like, share, subscribe, guys. So close to 100 subscribers. I'm going to try and be as consistent as I can on YouTube. But yeah, more videos to come soon. I'll see you guys in a bit. Peace.